welcome back. Happy Friday to all of you. I hope you're having a great week so far. How are you guys liking that Wednesday, Friday upload schedule? I really think it is helping me to stay on track and keep consistent and make sure to bring you all lots of fun crafty projects. So I hope you're enjoying that. Let me know down in the comments how that's working for you guys. So for today's video, I've got some projects that I created. Now, I love to make digital downloads, and I really love to make dollar downloads. So I'm sharing all of these projects today that I created with our new Vintage Santa dollar download. So this is a printable file, and I have had so much fun creating different projects, different levels of embellishments and all the fun things. And because of it being close to Christmas, I knew I wanted to do a Christmas card dollar download. So if y'all have any other ideas for dollar downloads, you just drop those in the comments because I always read them and I love to get some inspiration from you guys as well. But for today, we're going to use this one. Now, if you are interested in checking that out, I will drop the link in the top of the description so you can pop on over there and see if that is something that you want to be creative with. So we're going to make the basic card today, and then I've got a couple other variations and different kinds of projects to share created with that Vintage Santa dollar download Christmas card. So stick with me and let's get started. Okay, so before we get into that tutorial, I just wanted to show you very quickly, this printable has all of the elements that we're going to use today to create our cards. So there's a base layer, a couple of alternate patterns that coordinate. You can use them as I'm showing you or get very creative and use your dies and all that. There's a couple of other layering pieces here as well as a vintage image and this very sweet sentiment, and you'll see how I'm going to add those for my projects today. All of the projects I'm working on today have been created with the printable as designed. I didn't alter it, I didn't size it, I didn't crop it. I just printed it and used it so that you could see how versatile it really is. You don't need to be any kind of tech savvy at all. You can just grab your file, put it in, for instance, a Word document like I do, and then go ahead and print that off and use it just as it's designed. Another couple of things I want to mention, because someone will ask and I won't know the answer. This is the printer that I'm currently using. Now, I don't know what any of these letters or numbers mean when you string them all together, but this was the printer that Tech Hubby selected for me to use, and he did a lot of research and this is what he was happy with. I agree, I really love it, and that's what I use for all of my kits and my printables. So if you're looking for a printer, I highly recommend this one. I will though say that the toners are a little expensive, but they last a long time. So that's kind of a trade-off for getting a laser jet printer, is you get a much better print quality, but the toners are going to be a little bit more pricey. And last but not least, before we get started, this is the paper that I have found works really well with my specific printer, and I think you would agree that this is a very nice crisp white, which is what you want for printables, and it has a nice smooth finish, so you are going to get a good print quality. Some of the papers I found that we have tried have a residue on them from the manufacturing process, which is really frustrating because you definitely lose some of the sharpness of your images. And then another thing to mention, that this is 65 pound weight cardstock, so if you're using it for layering or popping it up on things, that will benefit you because it will be much sturdier. Okay, that's a lot to cover before we even get crafting, but the card I'm going to create today is just the base card, and then after I get that done, we can look at some of the other projects that I created with that printable. So my card size is a standard 5 by 6.5, and how I'm going to do this is just layering it as it was designed to be. Of course, you will add your own creativity and make lots of fabulous things. And then I am also mentioning that I'm using a cardstock border here. As designed, the Printable does not need a cardstock border to fit the 5 by 6.5 inch standard size card. You can just clip it out and use it and it will fit perfectly, but I like to have a solid color border around my patterns, so I just clipped mine down slightly so that it would fit within the layering that I like to do for my cards. So I have this cut and then this border, and then it will have a border of the white cards showing as well. I think it just makes it look a little bit nicer when all the patterns don't run together, and then also it makes it more sturdy. So I'm just going to add this to my card base, and then we can put the other layers on. So for this particular card, I want this beautiful floral pattern at the bottom. I have added that cardstock to the top as just a border once again, so that it will be captured between those layers. And I have this cut just to fit right inside, and then the top layer is a pretty plaid, and those warmer, richer colors really coordinate well with that floral. I'm going to put it at the top, but I'll flip this card around so it will be easier to see where it wants to line up. Another thing I want to mention before I put any of the images down is that when you print your own images, you're likely using white cardstock, obviously, and when you cut the images out, it can show the core of the paper. So I like to just run a coordinating marker around. For this one, I just picked one of my Spectrum markers, and this color works pretty well for things with gold or warmer, richer colors. So pick one that will coordinate with the image that you're cutting out, and that way it'll have a nicer finished edge. If you have, for instance, the sentiment is red on the border, I'd pick a red one just so that it has a clean edge on it. And so this is just going to be as designed, no frills, no added anything. I'm going to put this background on. It's easy to line up because there's that plaid at the top. And then I've got a little tag here, like a luggage tag, and I have that situated so that it comes out and helps to fill in this space. Now, you know me, I'm going to add doilies and all that to a regular card, but I just want this to look nice and full and have a lot of different variety of things so that it looks complete. And so here's the image that I've added to that Printable, and this is another one of my journal card printables from a different sheet, but I really loved how the florals went with that wreath, and of course I love vintage Santas. Another thing that I really wanted to focus on for this to give a better versatility to it is have a specific design inside the card so that you could fussy cut around and it still looks like a complete image. That way you can use it for other things, like I will show you when we get done with this card. But remember, I did finish the edge with that marker, and I'm just going to offset that a little, so I've kind of got more weight on this side so that I can balance it when I bring in the sentiments. This is just a good basic holiday greeting, and I'm going to add it right here and overlap two of these pieces so that it fills in this side and helps to create a balance. So here's the card just as it is designed. It's absolutely perfect, and in fact more mailable without all the bells and whistles, but you know me, and I'm going to add bells and whistles. So here is our standard card, and remember, this is created with one printing as designed from the printable sheet. The next card is fairly similar. I just swapped out my patterns on this, and then of course I added layering elements and embellishments. So I put in that doily and a couple of vintage buttons. Here is the tag again from the side, but for this card I added a metal eyelet and some thicker twine. Here are a couple of pretty coordinating snowflake charms and some sequins on the top. I've created an arrangement with some different kinds of floral dyes in different colors of green cardstock, just so that I could build some layer and have a nice variety. So I've got my regular flourish here, and then some pine branches, and then tucked in, I don't know how well that shows on camera, there are a couple of holly leaf sets, one on either side, just to create a balance. And then y'all pick on me for my poinsettias, but I'm telling you, they go with everything, and you can even cut pattern paper with them. So this is that Spellbinders Cinch and Go poinsettia. I have assembled these as I do, and then I put the stamen inside. These are the gold floral stamens from Really Reasonable Ribbon, and they're perfect for this card. I love that. It's not too shiny. It has a nice age to it, so it kind of goes well with the vintage vibe of this card. And then I've got my loopy twine bows, and here is some pretty burgundy wrinkle ribbon. Picked that up from Really Reasonable Ribbon as well. So here is 2 different versions of that card, and all I did was finish it off with all my usual trimmings. The next card is an A2 size. So I wanted to share with you that even if you print it as intended, as it's designed, you can create a smaller card, and the scale of the patterns are not too big. So what I did was I used the background as I did on the first card, but I took my floral pattern and ran it through with this pretty dovetail die with a stitched edge. So that gives me a little bit of detail. I put my Recollection doily in here, just cut from crisp white cardstock. I have my tag. I added a smaller twine this time just because it's a little bit of a simpler card, not quite as fussy. I like to call them sweet and simple because I'm never going to be able to accomplish clean and simple, so this is my version of it. I put a couple of those sequins again on the top, more of that burgundy wrinkle ribbon, and here is where I wanted to share the image. I fussy cut that out. So not only does it give it a more unique shape, but it fits this size card much better. You can imagine if I had the whole image, it would really cover up a lot of those layers. So I did that, and then it's layered on an A2 size card. It fits perfectly. So if you're not wanting to mess around and affect the size, or that, you can definitely make a smaller project. So another thing I want to mention while I have this up higher, hopefully that will focus well, I have put my stickles on various areas here. I didn't go all over and crazy, but where it makes sense are like the leaves and the beard and hat, and then where the folds are on his costume or his coat. I put a little bit there, so it's not super shiny and glaring, but it's intentional, and I think it just adds a lot to that. You could use green on the leaves if you have that. I do, but I just wanted to use one that was clear so that I could use the same stickle for all the different elements. And then last but not least, I wanted to make something that wasn't a card, and this is just a pretty little wall hanging, and I've covered it on the back with some coordinating pattern paper, and the base is 2 layers of 110-pound cardstock. So this is very sturdy, and I've got the sort of the same arrangement as the smaller card. I put the fussy cut image over top of that, but I moved the tag for this one so that I could see both of my layering patterns. I kept the sentiment here, and a couple of the sequins just adds a little bit of balance. My bows are on top, and it holds that ribbon in place. So this is a sort of a wall hanging or a tag. I've put a pretty little charm here that coordinates, and then a smaller flower arrangement. I've got a couple of more textural flowers here. They're just stacked up and added the centers too. I put gold in this time, and I just think it sort of dresses this up, and it coordinates with this little birdie craft flower, the center, and that's why I picked those stamens as well. So that is 4 different projects that I am sharing, created with my Vintage Sienna $1 download printable. If you want to check out that printable, I will drop a link in the top of the description. In the description as well, you can find links to all our social media sites. So I have mentioned before that we are adding a lot of projects to Facebook and the blog and Instagram that don't wind up on YouTube. So if you're only looking here, you're going to miss out on quite a few other projects that we've created. So that's a good resource to find other inspiration from Polly's Paper Studio. Now remember, we are starting our 12 Days of Christmas starting on Monday. That's the 12th. So make sure you mark your calendar, and that's going to be 12 days in a row at 7 p.m. And we've got lots of great projects lined up for that. I'm very excited. I've got our intro already. I can't wait for you to see that. It's very different, but I love it, and I can't wait to share it with you guys. So if you did like this tutorial, make sure that you leave me a comment, give me a big old thumbs up. If you're not already, I would love for you to subscribe. And as always, I'm wishing you a happy and productive day, and I thank you so much for watching. Bye.